right, it's 11:03. I think we are ready to go, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's official release of Automation Rising Solutions to Simplify Business. My name is Halisa from Enterpryze, and I will be your host for this webinar. Today's official release, called the Automation Rising, is where we bring machine learning and AI to the forefront. I won't go further because I will let our speaker today to explain to you more about this exciting release. But before I introduce our speaker today, I would like to cover a few housekeeping basics. Today's webinar is being recorded and attendees will be in listen-only mode, right? And we will share the recording with you after the event is completed within 1 or 2 days after we conclude. And also, we invite your questions in this webinar. You can have a look at the Q&A chat box on your screen. If you have any questions for the speaker at any point in the webinar, you just type it in there and we will address those questions during the Q&A session at the end of the event. All right, next. Next slide. We will move on to the agenda for today. After this short introduction, I'll pass over this session to our main speaker. And in this webinar also, we will have few video demonstrations to show you as well. And like I said, we have, before we end, we have a Q&A session. And next, so without further ado, I will present today's presenter, Xin Yi. He is our enterprise product specialist and consultant. And I'm going to hand over the floor to Xin Yi. Time is yours.
Thank you, Halisa, for the very kind introduction. I can see that in our webinar today, actually, we have a very large group of audience from all over the different regions. Nice to meet you all. Good morning. We do see people from Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Cambodia, and many more. So it's really my privilege together with Halisa to be able to co-host today's webinar to share with you the automation that we are going to bring forth to enterprise today. So I hope you are as excited as us, because what happens is today will mark the start of this whole entire release that will completely change the way you think and the way you do business. So over the past many years, my team and I has actually many conversations with our customers to understand the way that we can help them better run their business. And a lot of them actually bring out automation. So we believe that this automation piece is actually what is going to be the next big thing in the future. And it will bring so much value to all businesses now and also in the future. So if this is you today, I want to tell you that you are in the right place and we heard you and this is for you. So what we are going to cover today ranges from purchase to pay automation, inventory stock management, cash flow forecasting, instantaneous reports that you can all generate from Enterpryze itself. So what is Automation Rising? For Automation Rising, we want to be able to take some of the automation that is already created in Enterprise. For example, the automated GL postings. Every time you create an invoice, it will create a journal posting backend for you. Every time you create a goods receipt, it will create a journal ledger posting backend for you. So we want to take all this and drive this even further with things like, for example, OCR technology, optical character recognition, for example, machine learning, AI, to better help businesses transit from administrative tasks to now drive value to their customers and also spend more value time with their loved ones, their family, and also bring their further to drive sales further in their business. So to take off this administrative time to then do more productive tasks in their business. So today, we would like to focus on 5 aspects. The first one being purchase automation. And what we want to do is to do this on a very high level. I encourage each of you to have a chat with our consultants, our accounts manager at the end of the session to go into detail how this automation can actually offer you the value for your organization. So without further ado, I'll start off with purchase automation. So what is purchase automation? Purchase automation, basically, we want to leverage on this OCR scanning technology in order to deliver real value for our clients. So a typical purchase process includes generating a purchase order, getting it approved by the line manager, sending this purchase order to our supplier, and then receiving the goods, generating a goods receipt in the system or even in Excel, and then convert this to a purchase invoice when you receive the invoice from your supplier. Then after that, make the payment through the bank account, and after that, record this payment in the system. So this entire process, we want to streamline and automate, making it seamless for you through this purchase automation process. So for Enterprise, we want to bring to you two ways you can do purchase automation in Enterprise. The first one is through what we call the central email, where we can actually email and forward this PDF document into a central bank in Enterprise, where we can allow you to scan the document, read the document, and then directly post this document into the system. So through this, what you can do is the machine, the AI technology will actually read this document and then match it with the different supplier codes that you have, match it with the different item codes that you have in the system. For example, a blue umbrella by your supplier can actually be a magenta record in your system. So through this process, the machine Enterprise will actually help you match all these items, suppliers, and then post it directly as a purchase invoice into the system for you. So all these are automated. And at the same time, you can also click and drag your PDF files into the system for a direct upload if you choose not to use the emailing system. So what happens after this is the invoice will automatically be created for you already, where here at the back end, if let's say it's a service invoice, it will create for you the journal ledger, allow you to do your journal posting automatically. And if it's a stock item, it will help you to create and update your stock count in the inventory. And then also at the same time, do your general ledger posting at the back end. So all this includes things like your GL codes that you have already set in Enterprise, the tax codes that you have already set in place, the item codes, and it will allow you to automatically close the purchase order that you have already created previously, linking these two up together such that when you need to do an audit trail, you can actually go from the journals backwards to the invoice, backwards to the goods receipt, backwards to the PDF document that you currently send and attach through this automation. Okay, so this is the level that we want to bring out to all our customers and to deliver this so that they can be extra competitive in the market. So this is our, in a way, big picture for purchase automation. I can see there are quite some questions coming in. I would take this time to actually put a maybe 30 seconds pause so that you can actually post your questions if you have any. Keep them coming. At the end of the session, Halisan and myself will actually try our best to address all of them through this session. Okay, very good. I see a lot of questions coming in. Keep them coming. I will continue on to the second module. Keep the questions coming. I will have another pause at the second, third, and fourth module altogether. So the second automation that we want to cover today is the expense automation. So before I jump into the expense automation, I would like to take this opportunity to share with customers who have not really or are pretty new to Enterprise. In Enterprise-wise, we have an expense application. This expense application already allows a certain level of automation. For example, now you have your mobile device. You can actually whip up your mobile device, and this mobile device allows you to capture the receipt, which then posts the general ledger automatically into the system once your receipt is approved by your line manager. So what we are adding on right now is this technology, the scanning technology, that then allows you to take a photo, quickly capture the details on your receipt or the invoice, for example, and then all this data will be populated in the respective fields in the application itself. So once you post submit, the same thing will happen. It will post it directly into Enterprise and it will be sent to approval. So from here, what happens is you will receive an automated notification, which then sends to your line manager. If you are the line manager, if you are the director, you then receive a notification from your employees that, yes, they have just filed an expense. Do I want to approve this? I can actually read through their expense, check the receipt, and all this, once I approve it, it will automatically likewise post to the journal ledger. And then all this are a seamless process. So what happens is the technology is actually built into Enterprise, embedded in Enterprise. You do not need a third-party solution to actually do this, which then brings you the benefit of being able to have a full audit trail. For example, now you want to see from the general ledger, you want to backtrack to find the receipt photo. You can do that in Enterprise as compared to having a third-party add-on where you only post the bulk value into your general ledger. So in Enterprise-wise, what we allow you to do is we allow you to take a photo for the expense receipt and then directly allow the system to read it for you, to post it for you, send it for approval. Once it's approved, it will automatically post it to the general ledger under your employee account. So from there, the reimbursement is also done very easily, automated. Purchase will be sent to you where you can be able to receive this fund, and all the records will be properly done in Enterprise backend for your accounting. So this is where you can also, as a director, you want to be able to generate instantaneous report so that you can see your performance of your company. You can make decisions immediately looking at all this instantaneous report where you can click a button and the dashboard will also show you the real-time information updates from all your activities in Enterprise. Okay, so for now, I will take a pause. Keep your questions coming in for expense automation, and we will address them at the end of the session. Okay, next, the notification center. So in Enterprise-wise, we have a very powerful ERP system where it allows you to do not just accounting, but also your inventory management. Now, what we have in place is this additional notification enhancement where you can actually very easily tick the different notifications that you want to receive from Enterprise. For example, you want to receive every time there's a sales quotation being sent out, you want to receive a notification, you can tick the checkbox. Every time there's an activity created for a new customers, new opportunity created, you can actually tick the checkbox under CRM. When there's a purchase order being done, you can actually tick the checkbox. A service being executed or a complaint being lodged in the service module, you can actually tick the checkbox to receive a notification. So all this notification actually is very compatible with Chrome. What happens is if you are logged into Enterprise, even if, let's say, you do not have any activities in Enterprise, you will also receive this notification from Google Chrome. And this is the level of automation that we want to bring forth to businesses where you will have these notifications throughout the day itself as you run your business on the different browsers, the different emails. You will receive these notifications through the Google Chrome browser. And this will tell you every time something important happens in your business. Okay, before I go on to the next one, which is stock automation, this is a very big module itself. So I'll take a 10 seconds pause. If you have questions to ask about notifications, feel free to put them in the chat. We will address them later. Okay, Next, for stock automation. So this piece is actually to help our business, help our clients manage their business in terms of inventory, because we understand that inventory is going to be very important over the next couple of years, especially with the rise in e-commerce, in trading, in wholesale businesses. That's where we want to bring this level of automation. What happens is in your warehouse, you will be able to manage multiple warehouses in Enterprise. You can actually use this feature to help you forecast what items you need to reorder, forecast what batches of items that is going to expire, help you forecast based on things like your current company stock count in the total company stock count. You can break it down into warehouse, the different warehouses that you have. You can break it down based on the sales order. So how many you have on sales order. If let's say you are doing a drop shipping business or you are doing a back-to-back ordering business, that's where you can actually set it to sales order, how many you have promised your customers. And it will also be able to filter according to your purchase orders, how many goods are coming in. And all this gives you a forecast, which you will be able to then set the minimum stock levels you need every time you reorder. It will automatically be applied and it will generate a purchase order document for you automatically when you tick the checkbox. So what this means is that the system at this page will help you generate and forecast potential orders that you might want to do. It will group all the different items from the same supplier together in one purchase order. You can tick what you want to order, click the button, create an order. Enterprise will automatically create a purchase order for you based on the quantity you set, and then it will send it to the supplier automatically if you enable the automatic email sending feature in Enterprise, which we already have. So all these are to provide extra convenience for you through this entire inventory management process. So what happens is you can also set and modify all these quantity counts according to your seasonal demands. For example, in maybe the holiday period, you will see an increase, a spike in your orders, or maybe 9/9, 10/10 sales, you want to have more orders. So this is where you can actually modify the stock quantity, the minimum quantity required, and then it will forecast according to what you set, preset in the system itself. So the real value here is really to help you maximize your stock, not leaving extra unwanted or unused stock in your warehouse for a long period of time, because stock in your warehouse means money that is, or cash flow that is, you can better make use of. And we want to be able to help you automate this entire reordering process. You do not need to now have this person to check your warehouse stock, create a purchase order, and then go through the entire purchase process all over again. So this ties very well in line with our purchase automation. Okay, at this point, I will take a pause and please go ahead and post, keep the questions coming. Okay, this last part about banking automation, this last part concerns a lot of our partners. We do have many accountant partners with us here today. Thank you for joining us. So a lot of times when we talk to accountants, when we talk to the finance department, they do share with us their main concern, and the bulk of their time is actually spent on tallying their accounts. Especially business owners, if you are a sole proprietor, you run your own business, you have admin with you. At the end of the day, we do always hear customers coming back to us, telling us that, yeah, I do have a system. I do keep a proper records. Why do my accounts just don't tally? How do I make my accounts tally? So this is where we bring in the extra level of banking automation, where we integrate directly with your most trusted partner, which is the bank, which then provides you now with a live bank feed into Enterprise, which you can easily compare on the left, your live bank statement, and then on the right, what is your system transactions. So here what happens is by connecting with the bank directly, you can very easily do your bank reconciliation. So what you see on the screen now, the animated video, is the two dashboard. On the left is your live bank statement. Every time there's a transaction made, you will receive a notification from the system, and then it will also be posted into your live bank transaction feed, which is on the left. On the right, this is where you have the system transaction. So the system transactions is basically all the purchase invoices that is automatically scanned into Enterprise, or it can also be the sales invoices that you sent out to your customers. So all this allows you to then now be able to see your real-time bank feed without even logging into your bank account. And then you will be able to receive all these notifications coming in as your transactions come in. So here what happens is some of our customers are also worried about privacy. So here we have a permission setting where you can actually set who can actually do this bank reconciliation incoming feature purchasing dashboard. If they do not have the level of permissions access, they will never be able to see or access all this banking information that you have in the system. So this provides extra level of security into your Enterprise account and the extra level of security to all the data that you have in the Enterprise backend to help you run in a smooth, seamless, and automated function. So with this, what happens is you can very easily do your bank reconciliation and then immediately get all this posted into your general ledger. So the bank reconciliation and the general ledger records are coherent. If the auditor comes to you and now wants to see your bank reconciliation, because a lot of time when the accounts don't tally, it is something to do with the bank reconciliation. To break it down even further, bank reconciliation means simply ticking off and making sure that whatever you issue out as an invoice, you collect as a payment, it tallies with your bank records. So this process is actually a very tedious one. Especially for me, I'll just share a personal story. For myself, I do track my own expenses on a day-to-day basis. Whatever I go for lunch, I will record down. I purchase something, I will record down. And at the end of the day, when I check my bank statement, it always is a time-consuming task where I spend a couple of hours every weekend just to make sure that my books are correct, my credit card bills are not overcharged, my different platforms, especially if I have many different third-party platforms integrated in my business, that all this synchronizes together as one, where Enterprise is the one-stop platform allowing you to be able to generate and run all these business processes in one platform. It's all embedded. The OCR technology, the expense technology, the automation technology is all embedded into an Enterprise, which then saves you the trouble if, let's say, now any party decides to not continue the partnership. There won't be this issue in Enterprise where we already have this technology inbuilt into Enterprise. So that will be all for today's session. I thank you for all the questions that came in. Now, if you have any other questions, please feel free and continue to keep them coming. I will pass over the time to Halisa, who will help to facilitate the question and answers together with myself.
Right, thank you, Xin Yi. Great session. All right, we have come to the Q&A session. We have quite a lot of questions coming from our attendees, and let me moderate the questions back to Xin Yi. All right, here are a few questions that we get from the purchase automation module. Question number 1 is, how accurate will this automated mapping be?
Okay, that's a very good question. I would say that I will help you break it down into two different aspects. Okay, so one is more of a handwritten, the second one is more of a typewritten. So the differences between these two, I believe you would be also very clear about it. So the typewritten one is basically quite clear, concise, printed. The technology should be able to read it without any problem, without any difficulty. So it is also imbued in Enterprise, this portion where AI, machine learning comes into play. So for example, now you receive a new templated invoice from your supplier. You can actually teach the machine how to pick up information, for example, where to pick up your supplier address, where to pick up your supplier code, where to pick up the different items. And over time, AI will actually help you to learn, and it will make your entire process and reading process even simpler without you needing to worry about errors or being unable to read the document. Now I come to the second part where it's more of a handwritten document. I believe handwritten it's really a challenge, especially if let's say we are talking about handwriting that is not really legible even by human eye itself. So the limitation is definitely there. If it's not very readable even by human eye, there's also this challenge that the computer can read it. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, what about import materials, the import GST part, how to settle that?
Import GST. Okay, so I was very fortunate to have this early access, I would say, early access to the technology. I have seen it for myself. So what happens is, for enterprise-wise, once you do the scanning, it allows you to then save the different GST codes into the system before you post it as an official invoice itself. So before you post it, there's actually a function for you to edit. If you do catch just now the animated video, there's a function for you to edit, approve, and delete. So you can actually edit the GST codes, edit whatever you need, and then you post it as a normal invoice in Enterprise. So it doesn't take away any feature that is currently already in Enterprise. It adds on this extra value and this extra level of automation that helps you in terms of your administrative processes.
All right. Okay. Another question asks, inventory valuation, is it based on the first in, first out or weighted average?
Okay, that's a good question. So in Enterprise, we have always been using weighted average. So I would like to dissect this question into further parts because we do have different partners with us. So for our B1 partners, if let's say, for example, you have a SAP Business One account, you can actually set all these settings in your SAP Business One according to how you want to run your inventory management. So if you want to run it by first in, first out, you can do that. You want to run by average, moving average, you can do that. For the next group of customers who are solely using Enterprise as a standalone Enterprise, we have been running through using moving average, which has been pretty effective for most of our customers over time. And we do have this additional feature where you can actually do your gross profit margin analysis by your different price lists and all that available if you are a standalone Enterprise account holder.
Then another question, what if the machine reading detected the wrong supplier ID or item ID? Are we able to edit it manually?
Detecting the wrong supplier ID, I would say the chances are really very slim, very low, because what happens is over time, the machine learns and the machine will get better. So the chances for you maybe at the start might be still pretty high, but as time passes, it will get less frequent, which is a very good sign. So at the start, if let's say, for example, your supplier has a name ABC Private Limited, but in your system, you save it just as ABC. So that's where you can actually teach the system from, if the system reads as ABC Private Limited, you can actually teach the system to then post everything that is ABC Private Limited to the ABC account that you save in Enterprise. Usually our customers will save the supplier name as the same. So if let's say there's a special case for yourself, then this is something that you can teach the system to do over time.
Okay, now let's move on to some questions that are coming in from the expense automation module. Do we still need to convert expenses to PO?
Okay, that's a very good question. Currently in Enterprise, it allows you to automatically post an expense as a purchase invoice. So it's not really a purchase order, but it's a purchase invoice. So this purchase invoice will allow you to then actually immediately create a journal ledger posting at the back end. So if I were to describe the entire expense process again, what happens is through your mobile application, you can actually take a photo of the receipt. The receipt will then be read through the OCR technology and be posted into the respective fields. For example, what is the currency, what is the amount, and then once this receipt is captured, you can save it and submit it to your approval. So once you have the expense receipt approved, what happens is from there, it will automatically create a posting under the purchase invoice where it will tag according to the respective categories. And based on these categories, it will post to the respective GL account codes into the respective employee account codes. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. If you have further follow-up questions, you might want to post it in the chat.
Yeah, there's one question asked, if we did not log into Enterpryze, will we receive the notification from Google Chrome? Yes,
that is a very good question. So what happens is Enterpryze, we have this security feature in place. We are ISO 27000 approved. So that's where we have this level of security. You will be automatically logged out, in fact, after 20 minutes of inactivity. So what that means is you can actually keep your browser open on Enterpryze. Even if you are logged out, you will still receive the notifications from the Google Chrome browser itself. Yeah, so that's the level of automation we want to show you in your business, where you can receive real-time updates of what's happening, even though you are not logged into Enterpryze.
Okay, another one question. If no PO generated, can we still use it for PI purchase?
If there is no PO, I would understand this question from an expense point of view.
I think so.
So the question would be, if you create an expense and you don't have a purchase order generated, then will it still create a purchase invoice?
There's no extension to the question.
Okay. I'm not sure whether I have covered this just now. So basically, you don't need a purchase order. The purchase order is more in a way for you to send to your supplier as a purchase order, a formal document that you tell your supplier, I want to order ABC goods for how many quantity for the price. And then based on this purchase order, your supplier will then deliver the goods to you, which then allows you to do a goods receipt and receive the purchase invoice automatically.
One question from the chat coming in, I think it's on the purchase automation. Is the purchase automation applicable for non-item purchases such as shipping or general expenses?
Yes, it's applicable. So it's applicable for both stock items and non-stock items.
Why don't we take some question on the stock automation module? How does it generate forecast potential orders? Can you please explain?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
How does it generate forecast potential orders? Can you explain?
Okay, so I believe this will be under the stock reordering automation. So what happens is, in the system, you will be able to set. So let's say if I were to dive deeper and dissect this entire piece altogether, in Enterpryze, you have your different item codes where you can set for each item what is the default supplier that you want to order from, what is the default ordering quantity, what is the minimum order, what is the minimum inventory count before you do another reorder. So this information compiled together allows the system to then help you determine and explain or forecast to you what is the quantity that you need to reorder. For example, now if I sell apples, so in order to ensure that my Apple business run from a day-to-day basis, I need to be able to provide my customers with 100 apples per day. So every time I do an order, it needs to be in bulks of 500, and it will take me 1 week for these apples to be delivered. So from here, what happens is I will need to know that 1 week is 7 days, and in 7 days, I should have 700 apples in order to run my business before the next new batch of stock comes in. So I would set my days, the minimum stock to be 700, which allows me to run for 7 days, and then my minimum reorder quantity to be 500. That means that every time I reorder, I need to order 500. And then the system will be able to give me a notification and prompt me in the automation, reorder automation dashboard, where once I hit 700, I will then need to reorder. I can do 500, I can do 1,000, I can do 1,500, depending on what I set and edit in the system. So basically, it's just a level of simplicity for you to determine, let the system determine for you how many items you have currently in your inventory, how many items you have committed as a sales order, how many are already coming in as a purchase order. And then from there, you'll be able to determine which, based on your cash flow, how much you want to invest in this particular stock, how much you can turn over this stock within how many period or how many days. Yeah.
All right. For write-off stock and GI for marketing, is the journal will be auto-created? Sorry, there's no explanation for this question. Let's see another question. Can I set locations such as bin numbers in the stocks module?
Okay, so each of our warehouses, so we do have, okay, maybe let me take a step back and share with you about the maturity model we have in Enterprise. So in Enterprise, we have a maturity model which allows you 4 different packages, from the smallest invoice and pay to accounting to the inventory package to the full ERP system. So in the inventory and in the ERP system, we do allow for you to manage different number of warehouses. So if I remember correctly, it's 5 warehouses for inventory, and then you can have additional warehouses in ERP if you do the upgrade. So each warehouse has a unique warehouse code where you can actually set this warehouse code in the system. And then from there, you will be able to then set your different items to put in the different warehouse codes. So for example, if now I run 5 different warehouses, it can be 5 different outlets that I have in throughout the country. So let me just use warehouse A, B, C, D, for example. So I can actually have warehouse A as my shop A, and then in shop A, I have a bin of 50 apples. In shop B, I have a bin of 100 apples. C, maybe another 100, D, another 100. So in total, I will be able to see in the system, I have 350. If let's say the question is now with regards to the reorder automation, the restock automation, yes, you can filter the criteria according to the warehouses. So you can actually filter, I only want to see whether warehouse A needs reordering or whether warehouse D needs reordering. So I can do it both as a company-wide or a multi-warehouse wide level, and I can also filter according to the specific warehouse level.
Right. Then let's go to the banking automation model. There's some questions about that. For the bank automation, how does the system detect the bank receipt from which client or debtor? If unable to match it, are we still be able to do bank reconciliation?
Okay, so a quick answer to that is that in the bank reconciliation automation, what we do is we do match by the date itself, the closest date, the closest value. So that's the base level, the simplest level of automation that we do for the automatic reconciliation. But if I were to dive deeper, that's where the whole piece from the sales invoicing process to the purchase payment process, that's where we automate this entire piece. So it's not really a standalone. So for example, if I jump into a typical sales, so for most software out there might not be potentially a QR code. So in Enterprise, we do have a Pay Now QR code embedded in Enterprise. For Singapore, we have Prompt Pay, Do It Now QR code for Malaysia. And all these QR codes are embedded in the invoice. For example, let's take the Pay Now code, for example. Once I print out the invoice, you will have this Pay Now code printed on the invoice where customers can actually scan this Pay Now code. This Pay Now code is a dynamic Pay Now code, which means that it's automatically tagged to the invoice number, it's tagged to the invoice value. So when the customer scans, you don't need to worry they have mistakes in keying in the invoice number, mistakes in keying in the wrong value. For example, 1 less 0, 1 more 0. So all this removes the human error element and then brings about automation, because each QR code actually has a unique transaction ID which accurately matches with your bank statement, and then you will be able to do the reconciliation very smoothly and very accurately.
Another one question: how long does it take for the system to take up after scanning? Is it possible to scan from a folder stored, say, in Dropbox?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I would also like to link this together with more of our pricing model. So in Enterprise, we do have a pricing model for this OCR scanning technology. We are currently looking at a unit of about 50 scans per unit. So that means that it's actually a temporary storage, which allows you to then now, if you purchase 50 scans, you can do 50 scans. And then after that, if you require more, you can actually just very easily click a button. I want to top up another 50 units, where it allows you to scan further. So this is more of a units-based kind of payment or charges. And then from there, you'll be able to convert whatever is already in your, in a way, temporary holding folder and post it once you scan the document itself.
So let's take one last question before we end. It's almost 11:45. When is this automation going live? Will existing users be automatically switched over? And is there any extra subscription charges involved?
Yes, okay, thank you for this question. We are also about to cover this as we wrap up the session. So for this question wise, there will be no additional charges for most of the new automation feature that we are going to launch. The only additional charge would be the scanning technology that we have embedded into the OCR scanning technology that we have embedded into Enterprise. As mentioned just now, it will be a units-based charge for about 50 units per scan. And then from there, what happens is we are launching this over the next few days. It's really coming to you live as we speak. So from here, you will receive multiple tutorial guides pop-ups in your Enterprise platform, allowing you to then navigate yourself through. If let's say you require more assistance, feel free to always reach out to our accounts manager, and we are actually more than happy to bring you through this entire process, and in fact also be able to share with you how this technology is created to deliver extra value to each of the different industry, each of the different business companies that you are running. So it's over the next couple of days. Do stay tuned. We will be also sending out mailers and having more in-depth tutorial videos, and we will have another webinar session which will cover the more in-depth details on how to make use of each of the different new automation release feature.
Right. We actually have a lot more questions in our chat box, but unfortunately we are already running out of time. So our team will get in touch with you personally to address your questions. We've already captured your questions here. We have finally reached the end of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everyone who joined us today. To Zini also, thank you for sharing your insights and expertise today. And finally, if you have additional questions or would like to connect directly with us, you can reach out to us at enterpryze.com, or if you go to the next slide, Zini, there's a QR code on the screen where you can capture this QR code and get in touch directly with us. And once again, thank you for your time and have a wonderful weekend ahead, everyone. Stay safe and goodbye. Thank you so much.